Okay, so Joker is directed by Todd Phillips, and it stars Joaquin Phoenix as the title character. And I'm aware that this review is coming out extremely late, almost 2 months after the movie came out. But I kind of wanted to review it around the time it came out, and sadly, I've been super busy. Since then, it's made $1 billion worldwide. People have seen it multiple times. I've already seen it multiple times. So, if you have not seen this movie, don't watch this video, because there will be spoilers. And, yeah, basically that. So the film follows Joaquin Phoenix as Arthur Fleck. He is a struggling stand-up comic in Gotham City where he has trouble with people in his life. He has this laugh that he can't control, unfortunately. And with the city around him and everyone around him just beating down on him, he finally succumbs to the madness, as you will, and becomes the crown prince of crime in this dark take on the Joker that we have not really seen in comic book movies. And when I first heard about the Joker movie, I kind of didn't think it was necessary. Even with Todd Phillips' involvement, I'm like, that's interesting, but I don't know if we really need this. And with Joaquin Phoenix being attached to the role, I'm like, okay, this could be very interesting. But at the same time, Joker has been done so many times before, so many times really well as well, like Heath Ledger, Jack Nicholson, Mark Hamill, Kevin Conroy, Cesar Romero, just some of the big ones on screen, and no one else. But then the promotional images, I'm like, that's interesting, and the trailers were incredible. That I've watched them numerous times before the movie actually came out, because I thought those trailers were so well done. Whoever did those trailers deserves a raise. And I've said it before, I've already seen it multiple times, so I should kind of say how I feel about the movie. I think this movie is awesome. This movie is definitely a different take on the Joker mythology. It's definitely a unique take on comic book movies. It's like, basically, if Taxi Driver was a comic book movie, I think that's the best way to go about it. And that's what a lot of people are saying about this movie, but I'll get into that later. But the thing that stands out the most in this movie is Joaquin Phoenix as the main character. He is phenomenal. He is probably the best. This is probably the best performance I've seen in this year so far. And everything in this movie, I'm like, I completely understand where you're coming from. Even though I don't agree with what he's doing, it's like, I understand why you're doing this. And like every time he laughs, you can hear pain in his voice. And every time you just look at him, you just feel this sense of dread and sorrow for him, especially throughout the first 2 acts of this movie. Because if you've seen the movie already, you know he doesn't actually become the Joker until the last half hour of this movie. And yeah, everything he does, I was like, dude, whoa, that is nuts. Like, that is insane. And yeah, if he's not at least nominated for Best Actor this year, then people will be rioting on the streets just like in this movie. The score, for the most part, is probably the second best thing in this movie. I'm not going to try to pronounce the composer's name, unfortunately. But the score in this movie is haunting. It's incredible. It's impactful, powerful. It really digs into you as you're watching this movie, as you watch Joaquin Phoenix just descend into madness, essentially. And it follows along with him. And it is intense, just like his performance. I looked up the score again afterwards. It was incredible. Also, the cinematography by Lawrence Sher is really grim, but at the same time has this unique style to it as well. It's got like for some reason I kind of noticed there's like a greenish tilt to it, like a greenish tint to it. I forgot what, is it? Yeah, I think it's tint, but it's so, like, I loved looking at this movie. I loved looking at Joaquin Phoenix's performance, his transformation into this character, and yeah, that was so... It's one of those movies that it's like... I will say this. There are some things that are really strong in this movie. Everything else in this movie is definitely good, but they're not as strong as Phoenix. Like, Phoenix is giving the best performance in this movie. Everyone else in this movie, they don't give horrible performances. Like, Robert De Niro plays a talk show host in a homage to both Taxi Driver and The King of Comedy. And You know, he's fine. He doesn't really have too much to do other than to kind of be a dick to Joaquin Phoenix's character throughout. And also Zazie Beetz from... she plays a neighbor of Joaquin Phoenix's character. And, you know, she's fine for what she does. She doesn't really shine that much. Frances Conroy plays Joaquin Phoenix's mother in this. She's very mean in this movie. She is... like, you can tell that she kind of doesn't really care for her son, but at the same time, she is just out of her mind, just like her son is. Well, son, and spoilers. And I actually really liked how they basically try to tie in this movie into current climates, like, you know, the rich and the elites, and like, let's go after them and such, and like, how we're tired of the rich just taking everything from us while we have nothing, and that's kind of what, you know, Joaquin Phoenix is kind of going through in this movie. Like, everything's being taken away from him. Like, his job, his sanity especially. Yeah, it's really good. So, something I heard about this movie after it came out, like initially when it was at festivals, that it was too similar to movies such as Taxi Driver or The King of Comedy. And I'm like, that was intentional. Like, Martin Scorsese was supposed to be an executive producer on this movie. And you're not going to try to pay homage to, you know, those movies that he did when it's similar in tone. Robert De Niro's in this movie, and he was in both those movies. So that didn't really mind. I didn't notice it too much. So that didn't bother me. But I guess some people noticed it. I didn't. And I was okay with it, because it was still its own unique take on this character. What else? Oh yeah, I guess let's get into the negatives about this movie. The only thing I really did not care for was the whole girlfriend subplot with Zazie Beetz. Again, she's not bad in the movie, but if you saw the movie, you know that he imagines this relationship with her. He attends his stand-up show where he bombs, goes on a date with her. Then one day he learns all this stuff about him, such as his mom. His mom, he was adopted, and he was abused by her along with her new boyfriend. And so he breaks into her apartment, and she goes, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" And like, "Oh, you're that guy from down the hall." And I'm like, yeah, that was kind of something I kind of saw coming, that this wasn't really happening. It was all kind of in his head. But other than that, I still think this is a really strong movie. A really fantastic movie. I've already seen it 3 times in theaters. I will definitely get it when it comes out on Blu-ray and such. Again, okay, so tying the spoilers as well, a lot of people are divided about the last scene. One of the reasons kind of delayed this is kind of like I tried to figure out like how I felt about the ending of the movie, like the literal last scene. And I feel like I kind of get what they're kind of going for, such as the whole, oh, hey, like in the movie, it's implied that Arthur is related to the Wayne family in some way. So there's this whole subplot in the movie that ends with him in Arkham Asylum thinking about how he might be related to Bruce Wayne. It's like, hey, even if we're not related, we're kind of all stuck in this system together now. So I guess that kind of makes sense. But yeah, I would say this is not only worth watching, it's worth watching over and over again just to kind of like learn something new each time. Like, I kind of thought like, well, that was a weird ending, but then when I saw it the second time, I'm like, okay, I'm kind of getting it now. Then the last time I saw it, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's where they're going. Alright, so yeah, so Joker, obviously, if you have not seen it at this point, I would be shocked. Joker is fantastic, great performance, great score, great cinematography, great direction by Todd Phillips overall. Definitely a unique take that can apply to modern times. And it's a movie that I need to watch again to kind of like learn more, because I feel like I can get something new each time while I'm watching this. So I would give Joker 3.5 out of 4 stars. Definitely see it. So, interesting question. Who's your favorite Joker and who's your least favorite Joker? If you watch this, comment down below.